Trying to see all the lovely faces. Oh, hello, hello. Some cameras are just popping on. Hi. And I'm sure we'll have some more people join us as we continue our program. But oh, it is 6:30, so I'm going to get started. So hello, everyone. Again, welcome to Lone Star College-CyFair's College is for You event. We are so happy you're here to join us today. We have quite a few topics to discuss with you, so we can talk about our programs of study, our financial aid options. We have a professor here to talk with you about what classes are like in a faculty perspective. We have some students here who are current students who are going to share their story, and so many other things. So we're so happy you're here today. We'll have a question and answer session at the end of our event. So if you think of something you'd like to ask us, please feel free to put it in the chat so that we can make sure to answer your question. My goal is that you leave here knowing all things that you had questions over and comfortable to be able to come back to us and say, we'd like to get started. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce our college president, our fearless leader who has joined us this evening, Dr. Valerie Jones.
Hi, everybody. Becca, are you able to hear me okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Wonderful. That's always the first question in these. So my name is Valerie Jones, and it is my honor and privilege to serve as the president for Lone Star College-CyFair. Let me first just say thank you so much for adding this onto what is probably a very full schedule and a very full day. And I know we've all been navigating triple digits. And I think the last time I looked at heat indexes, it was 120. So things don't live in this, and yet here we all are. So I really appreciate you making the time for you by joining us today in learning a little bit more about Lone Star College-CyFair. So I think the biggest thing that I'd like to just kind of set as a tone in this is very often when I talk with community college students and folks that are thinking about going to college after they may have worked for a while or been out of school or been taking care of families, any number of things, regardless of those experiences, one of the most common self-reflective perspectives that I hear potential students say is, I'm not sure it's for me at this time. Maybe I'm too late. Maybe it's not right. Maybe I don't know enough. And so I think I love the title that Becca has chosen for today's conversation, that the answer is yes. I guarantee you, whatever it is that voice is in your mind that's saying, well, maybe I'm not sure. The answer is yes, college is for you. And what that looks like can be really different. So as you'll hear, as we talk through the different programs and opportunities, when we say college is for you, for some of our students, that means they learn to be a long distance truck driver. For some of our students, that means they learn to be a nurse. For others of our students, it means they learn to be in cybersecurity. We have about 80% of our students at CyFair who choose to transfer to universities to get a bachelor's degree after getting a really great start with us and saving a whole lot of money, which we all like. So no matter what it is that you're thinking about maybe being your direction, I just want to really reiterate and be a voice in your head as you're thinking about your different options and choices to say the answer is yes, college is for you and you are not alone. One of the things that we're very proud of at Lone Star College-CyFair is that we build our structure and we're building our framework along a philosophy that we call I belong. And that is really embracing the reality that every single one of us belongs in this space together, whether it's an employee, a student, a community member, faculty, staff, new student, somebody who's been with us for 10 years. You all belong as part of this college, as part of this opportunity, and as part of this experience. And we're just always so excited at how many different ways students find a place within us, within our college, within our experiences, to be able to make their next right choice and see what's possible for them. This past May, we had over 1,000 students participate in graduation. And just looking out across the Berry Center auditorium and seeing such a breadth of diverse personalities and people and nationalities and language bases and identities and all of the different stoles and the signage they put on their mortarboards and everything that made them uniquely them and part of us is really just a beautiful illustration of what's possible. So again, thank you for investing time in yourself to be part of today's conversation. And please let this be just the first step that you take with us. So feel free to follow up with anyone from today's presentation to learn more and to kind of take those next steps of inquiry to see what it would be like to be more part and an ongoing part of Lone Star College-CyFair. So thank you very much for letting me take a few moments at the start of this, and I will hand off to our expert crew.
Thank you, Dr. Jones, and thank you for your support for all that you do with our students and our faculty and our staff. Thank you so much. So I'd like to welcome some of our guest speakers today that are current students, because they were willing to join us and share their story of their experience here. So we have Scott and Marian Liebling here, and I would love to turn it over to them so you get an idea of what they experience when they're here with us at Lone Star College-CyFair. So it looks like you're muted. I'm going to look to see if there's a way to unmute you.
I got it. Is the video working?
It is not. Do you have the option to show your video?
Do you want your video? Yes. Here we go. Let's start. Okay, looks like we're rolling now. Well, thank you, Becca, and thank you, Dr. Jones, for that wonderful introduction. We're Marian and Scott Liebling. We've been students here probably since 2007 or so.
Yes.
Have enjoyed every minute, and we belong here. And anybody else who might have a little trepidation about coming here because of their age or because of their educational background or anything else, don't worry about it. We were a little worried about how we'd be received by other students, but it's been absolutely a wonderful experience from start, and the finish is an even insight.
I want to share with you my story of why I actually chose Lone Star College-CyFair. Many, many years ago, my mother passed away. I felt the loss terribly. I decided I wanted to do something. So I decided to come back here and take courses. Now, it was a bit of a hassle because my grades were on what they call microfiche. And if those of you are as old as I am, it was hard getting all those credits together from two different institutions from a long time ago, but yet I did it. And I thoroughly enjoyed the course I took in art history, and the students were wonderful. They were very encouraging. And that's when I started taking courses, and I got to know some fantastic faculty. And I want to say that as older students, we have a different kind of a rapport with our professors. And that's really a good thing. It's very unique. As Scott was telling Becca a few minutes ago, both of us went to college over 50 years ago. So things are a lot different now, and there's a lot of encouragement if you need to and need that. I also want to say that one wonderful thing that the state of Texas has done is they have an over 65 senior exemption for those of us who are over 65. And that would include covering the cost of 6 credits a semester. It is paid for by the state, and you have to apply for this senior exemption through the business office or the financial aid office. But I would encourage you to look into that if you're over 65. And if you're not, I would encourage you to come back to your studies. If Scott and I can do it, and we've learned so much, and we've enjoyed the students, and we had students call us during the pandemic who wanted to get groceries for us and help us out. So that's how personal some of the relationships got. So this is our happy place.
Indeed it is.
So we want to encourage other people to come and to realize that, yes, you do belong. This is a safe place. This is a diverse campus. This is a wonderful campus. Everybody belongs here.
This place is the jewel in the crown of the CyFair district.
I agree. I really do. I agree. More?
I will forever treasure the relationships I've had with the professors and the students that we still stay in touch with. The faculty is great. They're here because they love to teach. They don't have to go out and hustle grant money. They don't have to do research. They're just teachers, and they're really, really good at it. So
One thing we do want to share with you is at one point and going to college here, Scott took a government course, and he was invited by the professor to come with this particular professor and a whole group of students from our college to lobby the legislature for funds for community colleges. So Scott said he would, and then he asked me to go. When we went, we were so inspired by the students, the stories of the students asking legislators, please keep the, don't raise the price of the tuition. We're first generation students, and this is very important to us. So please keep funding us at good cost. So I came on the bus ride back, and the following morning I thought, is there something we could do, Scott and I, together to fund a scholarship for a student that would really need it? So it took us a year working with a lawyer to get it all together, and we created the Didwell Liebling Opportunity Scholarship. And we have awarded, how much would you say?
about $45,000.
$45,000 over the last maybe
11 years.
11 years. So we're very proud of that. It honors my parents, honors Scott's parents, and our whole family. So this is something that we're really proud of.
Okay. Before we monopolize everybody else's time, we just want to say thank you to the wonderful staff that makes all of this possible.
Yes, we really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I have to be honest, I got a little teary-eyed when you were sharing your testimony, because it's so special to hear from our current students. And I hope for those of you who will be joining us soon, you get to see them on campus and ask them more about their experience and their time here, and maybe even some advice whenever you're coming back on board. So our next, I'm sorry.
Do we have any advice? I just
Come here, follow your heart.
Yeah. Follow your heart. Don't be afraid. There's
Yeah.
plenty of people that are going to help you and take you by the hand. And
If you need it, sure.
if you need it, and I don't think you can ask for a better campus. So
Thank you.
I wish I'd have had this 50 years ago.
we both did.
And I'll tell you something, one last thing. I don't want to sound like Columbo, but one last thing. I used to be a snob about community colleges, thinking, oh, that's for the losers and everything. But there's some serious scholarship going on here. And I'm not ashamed to admit that I was wrong. And I'm glad I jumped in with both feet. It's made me a better person. So.
I have to say, I graduated from a community college, Suffolk County Community College in New York. And I have an associate's degree, and it was in 1974. So I always was proud of my community college experience. So, and I hope it will continue. So
We do.
that would
too.
be.
Thank you so much for being here tonight.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us. Thank you.
So next we have one of our academic advisors who's very knowledgeable and has been here for a long time, Donna Jo Anderson. She's going to talk about our programs of study. So please join us, Miss Donna.
Well, good evening, everybody. I'm so happy that you're here with us. I'm just glad I don't have to go out in the heat yet. I went out at lunch, and I know it's really hot out there. All right, so I am an academic advisor. That is the person that you're going to come and talk to when you need to know what classes to take, or when you want to get information about transferring. But right now, we're going to talk about the different programs of study that we have available here on our campus. And there we go. So we offer over 200 degree and certification programs. That's throughout the Lone Star College system. We have a lot of those here. So our programs of study are organized within your Lone Star catalog, college catalog. So the catalog, I don't know if any of you remember if you had gone to college before in the past, but that was kind of like the guidebook. We were given a catalog and told, don't get rid of it. This is all of the official information that you need about your major. So this catalog is like a guide to your education. So I'm going to show you how to get there. The first thing that you're going to need to do is go to the Lone Star website. And it looks like my little circles have gotten moved a little bit, but you're going to hover on programs of study. So that's one of the subtitles up here along the top, and then click on catalog. And that's going to take you into the catalog. So as you can see, it looks just like a paper catalog in that it has a table of contents here on the left side. So there's a lot of information in here about various things that you might need to know. But what we're going to look at today is some of our programs. So you're going to click on programs and, oh, the slides got reversed. I missed that. So here's the online catalog. You're going to click on view online catalog. This will be the most recent catalog. So we have a new one that's published every academic year starting in the fall semester. So say for instance, if you started here at Lone Star in the spring of 21, you would want to go by over here, the archived catalog 2021, because that's going to be fall of 20 and spring of 21. So just be sure that you're looking at the correct catalog for the year that you started here. Okay. Now, once you click programs, it's going to give you a list of all the different categories that we have, the areas of study. So your programs are going to be grouped together based on their content. As you can see here, we have arts, humanities, communication and design, business and professional services, energy. I'm not going to read all of them, but you can see, you can get the point of we have all these different programs or categories of programs here. And for an example, we're going to look at business and professional services. That's a popular area for here. So when you click into that, it's going to drop down and show you all of the different programs that we have within business and professional services. So the first one we're looking at is an accounting program. And if you'll look to the right, it has a title called Workforce. So our workforce programs are generally the kinds of programs that are more skill-based, and they are intended to help you get a job. You can transfer those to a university, but they're not as smooth. This is really intended to give you some skills to be able to go and get a job. So within the Associate of Applied Science, and that's what this workforce accounting program is, a 2-year workforce program. And within that, there are certificates. So there are certificates that are shorter term programs that you can earn credits towards your Associate of Applied Science. So you might be able to earn a level 1 certificate and then a level 2 certificate, which will stack on top of the level 1, and then take a few more classes to get your Associate of Applied Science. So that's the accounting program. And now we're going to look at so you can see the accounting is up here. Just for information's sake, this accounting right here is for students that are working on their CPA exam. Or getting their CPA. So we do offer classes for them. But we're going to look at the business program. And if you look to the right, it says academic transfer. So this is an Associate of Arts in business. So an Associate of Arts is a transfer degree intended for anything in liberal arts. So that could be English, history, business, law, education. There's quite a few different kinds of degrees within Associate of Arts. An Associate of Science would be a transfer degree that's intended for all of your STEM majors. So those engineers and anybody that's going into any kind of medical, whoops, back up one, not done. There we go, thank you. Anybody that's intending to go into any of the sciences or math or those pre-medical type degrees, pre-med, pre-dental, all of those. This is intended to transfer to the university, and it includes that core curriculum requirements that everybody calls the basics, right? So it's going to include all of those classes that will transfer to the university, and then you might have some program-specific electives. Such as in business, you're going to be taking some classes that all business schools want you to have, like accounting and economics. Okay, next. So there's another way to look at programs of study. My preferred way is to go through the catalog, just because I like to look at all of the information that is the most current. But you can also click on the programs of study and then browse programs of study. So we're going to see what that looks like. When you open that up, right down here, you're going to have some filters. So you can filter this in many different ways by the area of study. So if you think you want to do health, you want to look at some health programs, or location, if you know that you want to come to CyFair. Of course, you would want to come to CyFair. That's our favorite campus. And the award level would be, do I want a certificate? Do I want an associate's degree or even a bachelor's degree? So this is just a way for you to filter some of the programs that we have here. Now, we kind of went down into the health sciences. We picked these because these are very popular programs. So you can see right here where it says health sciences at CyFair. So these are the things we picked, and an associate's degree. So we've got diagnostic medical sonography. So for those of you who don't know, that's ultrasound. So when you are looking at that, it's going to give you a career overview with some information about that career. It's going to go through any requirements for the program and the classes that you would be taking. So this page with tiny, tiny print shows all of the programs that we have available at Lone Star. As you can see, there are many, and they're divided out by category and campus. So pretty, anything that you think you might want to study, we probably have a program for that. So go into the catalog, go onto the website, start looking around, see if some things, spark an interest for you. You may already have an interest, but definitely look around and see what's going on, and then come in and talk to an advisor, and we can tell you what to do next.
Thank you, Donna. And yes, we will be sending this out, so don't feel like you have to squint to look at the screen. We will be following up with an email with this document. So thank you for sharing about our programs and study. I'm going to turn it over to our Professor Barton, who will talk about our classes.
Hi, everybody. I am going to start sharing my screen because I have a complicated PowerPoint. So can you see my screen okay?
We see a spreadsheet.
Sorry, wrong screen. Stop share. You don't need to see my spreadsheet. Sorry. Let's try that again. Yay, technology. Here we go. How about now?
Good to go.
Better? Okay, awesome. Sorry about that. Oh, right. Well, first of all, I just want to start by telling my story of my college journey. I unfortunately did not go to a community college. I really wish I'd gone to a community college, but instead the path I took was to go right from high school into a university. I had a scholarship, and I was like, oh man, I'm going to get all my college education paid for. And then I got there and I got bad grades. I got C's and D's and F's, and I lost my scholarship. And so I transferred to a state school because I was at a private university. And because I was at a state school, I had to work full time and try to go to school full time. And nobody told me I could go to school part time. I just thought I had to do it all. And so I ended up getting C's and D's and F's again because I was trying to pay my bills and everything. And then I decided to just drop out of college altogether. And so I spent the next 10 years working a lot of different jobs. And I'm sure some of you can probably relate to that, whatever your journey might be. I did not go back to college until I was in my 30s. Didn't get my college degree, until then. And then I became a college professor. So I like to tell people that, 25 years ago, I was a college dropout, and today I'm a college professor. So wherever you are in your journey, I want to kind of give you some hope that this is the place for you. As Dr. Jones said earlier, this is the place for you. This is where you belong. And I really am excited to welcome you here to the Lone Star family. All right, with that said, I am going to talk about some of the things that we have for class options here. There are 3 types of classes that we offer: fully face-to-face classes, which are traditional, come to college, sit in a desk; hybrid class, which are partly online and partly face-to-face. So you'll do some of your work online and then some of your work in class. Usually those only meet maybe 1 day a week or 1 day every other week, something like that. And then we have fully online, which are fully online classes. Most of those are what we call asynchronous, meaning that, you do your work on your own time. There are a few classes that are synchronous, meaning that you attend class at a certain time, but you're online. So you're just like logged in like we are right now. The semester lengths also vary. We have 16-week, 14-week, 12-week, and 8-week classes during our full semester. The 16 weeks are a traditional full-length semester session. The 14 and 12 weeks, we don't actually have very many of anymore, but we do have a great offering of 8-week classes. And the great thing about 8-week classes is that you can take fewer classes at the same time. They're a little more condensed. So instead of taking, say, 4 or 5 classes at a time, you would take 2 classes in the first 8 weeks. And then once you're done those 2 classes, you take 2 more classes in the next 8 weeks. And that way you get the same number of classes that you would get as a full-time student, but they're spread out a little bit more. Now, those are a little bit accelerated, meaning that you're doing a little more work, but because you're only taking 2 classes at a time, that's a really good option. We also have summer sessions. We're in summer session 1 right now. We also have summer session 2, which starts in a couple weeks here in mid-July. And those are basically 5.5-week sessions. There are some alterations to that. There's a few 8-week classes here and there, but mostly they are 5.5 weeks or so. We also have these things called mini-mesters. They're 1 in December and 1 in May, and those are either 3 or 4 week options. Those are very condensed. So if you just want to really just burrow down and go fast, then that's good for you. And then we have also daytime, evening, and weekend classes for our face-to-face options. And the class sizes for most of our classes are between 25 and 30 students at most. Unlike a university where you sometimes will have classes with 200 or 300 students, all of our classes are pretty small. As far as the syllabus, all classes will have a syllabus. It lists the textbook info. It has assignment information, instructor contact information, class policies, expectations, and lists of resources that are available. So you're going to want to really use that syllabus and keep a really close eye on that as we go forward. As far as choosing your classes, I encourage you to read the instructor's syllabus from previous semesters. You can actually go and look up online the professors we have, because by state law, we have to post our syllabi. And you can take a look at what the assignments are like, maybe get the personality of the professor. I even recommend you reach out and interview your professor. What I mean by that is to actually reach out and say, hey, can I meet with you? Can we have a talk about what your class is like? I know that sounds scary, but by doing that, you're really going to choose the best class for you. And then I would just say use Rate My Professor cautiously. Rate My Professor is a great resource, but a lot of times on Rate My Professor, people go there when they're just really, really upset or they really, really love the professor. So they're very polarized. Yeah, I don't think it's not like a Uber review where everybody rates. It's only some people rating. Now, my reviews are actually pretty accurate because I encourage my students to use Rate My Professor. So I have a lot more ratings than the typical student. A professor doesn't mean my ratings are better than everybody else. It's just that I have a larger volume of them. And I left this off until the bottom. Consult with an advisor. You heard from Donna earlier. It's really, really important to make sure that you are talking to your advisor. A lot of students try to self-advise, which I can't emphasize enough is just not a great idea because it's really complicated getting a degree and making sure you're getting all your required classes. So please, please, please consult with an advisor. Some other quick tips, and we are running a little late, so I'm sorry I'm running through this so fast, but we're a little behind on our schedule, so I'm trying to make up some time for us. Leave early so you have time to get caught in traffic or get lost on campus. Ask for help if you are turned around. Please don't hesitate to ask if you don't know where you're going. It is a big campus, and there's a lot of buildings, and some of the buildings are very similarly named. We have Case, and we have CASA, and they're right next to each other. And so that can be confusing. So definitely, ask for help, but leave a little early on your first day if you are in face-to-face classes. Silence your phone and remove any distractions that may be there for you. do take notes, bring a notebook, bring something to write with, be actively engaged with the class, be raising your hand and talking and being heard. Introduce yourself to some of your classmates that are sitting around you. It's a great way to make connections. Say hi to the professor at the end of the class. And they try to stop by the professor's office during their office hours if they have them. Not all professors have office hours. Full-time professors like me do. Our part-time adjunct professors don't always have office hours. So, but they're usually able to meet by appointment. And and if it's an online class, log in on day one. This is a really big problem I see with people with online classes. They think it's self-paced. Most online classes are not totally self-paced. There are assignments due in the first few days of class. So it's really important if you are in an online class to log in on day one and get started. And one thing I will put at the top here that I left off, do a walking tour of your classes the week before your classes begin. So if you are taking if you're taking face-to-face classes on campus, just come to their campus the week before classes, walk around, find your classes, find the buildings, know where the bathrooms are. All of that stuff is going to make you feel so much more comfortable on the first day of class. And finally, I just want to say, I'm going to put my email address in the chat box so you can email me if you have questions. My office is in Casa 2250. That's where I am right now. I also am teaching a class in summer too. So if any of you are signing up for summer classes, I'm teaching Speech 1318 Interpersonal Communication. It is online and face-to-face. Unfortunately, it's only online. So I'm not teaching the face-to-face one. So I didn't get a chance to fix that. And then in the fall, I'm teaching Speech 1318. That's Interpersonal Communication. That is an online class. And then Speech 1311 Introduction to Communication. That's face-to-face Tuesday and Thursday mornings. I know you hear speech and go, I don't want to give speeches. The good news is Speech 1318, you don't give any speeches. We just talk about relationships. Speech 1311, there is one speech in that class, but it's pretty low pressure. So if you are interested in taking these classes, these are part of your basics, part of your core. If you'd like to take them, they can count towards that. And that is my time. I will go ahead and turn it back to Becca.
Thank you so much, Professor Barton. I wish I took your class when I took speech. I didn't get to because I went to university as well, but I did take classes at a community college at San Jacinto back where I lived, and I really enjoyed my experience. But of course, here is even better. So now I'm going to turn it over to one of our admissions gurus, Michael Zartler. He's going to talk about what it takes to start the process to be able to come back to classes with us. And I'm going to share my screen so we can get that going. And then Michael, if you want to take it away.
All righty. Okay.
Sorry.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I'm sorry. I'm just getting to the right slide. Okay. You're good.
Okay. So, and then this presentation is going to be shared. So I'm going to go through it kind of quick, but there should be links to everything to go back and check at your own pace. But this is how to get started doing all the great things that everybody's been talking about. So this is the new student checklist. This is generally just the steps to admission. So this checklist will have everything you need on it, but you might not necessarily have to complete everything on this checklist. If you want to scan that code and follow along at your own pace or reference it in the future, that code will take you directly to the link to the checklist. All right, so step one is going to be, this is both for returning and new students, is doing an Apply Texas. If you're a new student, your Apply Texas is going to be what gets you your student ID number. If you're a returning student and you haven't been active for 2 or more years, you're going to have to do another Apply Texas just to refresh your account. Once you complete the application, you should get an email from Lone Star in 24 to 48 hours saying that your account has been activated or that you've been accepted with your student ID number at the top. Once you have that, that's when you'll be able to log into your Lone Star account and kind of see what holds you have and go to the next steps of the process. All right, so the next one is placement testing. So most new students will have to take the placement test. There's very specific exemptions for whether or not you need to take it. If you go to that website down there, it will have examples of what exemptions there are. They're usually test scores, credit from another college for a college level math, college level English. But for the most part, unless you know you have high enough ACT, SAT scores or credit from another college, or if you're a non-degree seeking student or transient student, that test won't be required. But if you are seeking a degree or seeking something like that. Unless you have exemption scores or exemption college from another credit from another college, you probably will have to take the test. You can visit that website down there to see more specifics about that. All right, so transcripts. So this is kind of one of the more complicated things. For transcripts, if you're going to have to submit a transcript for when you do your Apply Texas, you yourself list all colleges that you've gone to. If you list it, it's going to show up as a required transcript that we must have. So you're gonna have to submit transcripts from any college that you put on your application that you did attend. If you have not attended another college, we will need your high school transcripts. However, if you have attended another college and have credit, we will not need your high school transcripts, but if you are applying for financial aid, they will need them. So your best bet is just to get in your transcripts for any colleges and high school, just to get everything out of the way. If you're an international student, the process is a bit different. You will have to go through an evaluation service. They'll work with you to get your transcript from your home country, evaluate it, and then send it back to us. And then those links at the bottom will take you to the different parts of the transcript process. All right, so holds. There are tons of holds for tons of different reasons. There's way too many to go over in the time that we have. So if you scan that little QR code, that'll take you to just a general list of what the holds are and an explanation of what they are. You'll be able to see the holds on your account once you have your student ID number and you log into your My Lone Star. You go into your tasks tile. It'll show you your active holds. Some holds can be overridden manually for us to enroll you, but most holds you'll have to get taken care of before you can enroll. New student orientation. This is another requirement unless you're non-degree seeking or you have transferable college credit, which means that you've gone to another college and credit has transferred in. For NSO, you must have completed your placement testing or have that credit transferred in or be non-degree seeking before you can take your NSO. Academic advising, Donna already went over that. So this is just a general code to get to a academic advising form if you want to fill that out at a later point for your reference. And then finally, the last step, once holds are completed, everything's in, you can register for classes. That code right there, if you want to scan it, that's the registration form. If you have no holds, you should be able to register yourself. However, there are some circumstances where holds will stay on your account, but you're still eligible to register, in which case we'll have to manually do it. But there's too many scenarios for that to go into at the time we have. So. And then the last step is once you register for classes is paying for classes. Each semester has a payment deadline. If you register for a class before the payment deadline, you have until that day to pay. If you register for classes after the payment deadline, you'll have to pay the same day. Otherwise, the classes will automatically get dropped. And the payment deadline is always before the start of classes, just as a reminder.
Thank you, Michael. And like you said, we will be sending this PowerPoint out. So you'll have full access to this as well as any questions that you may have after this session if we didn't answer your questions that you have now. So next,
it is a lot of info.
Yes. Thank you, Michael. I'd like to go ahead and introduce Keith Dixon. He is our financial aid manager, and he's going to talk about how financial aid works and what all the processes are. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Keith.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Thank you again for attending our session this evening. I'm going to go over financial aid, and I understand that it can be a lot of people believe a complicated process. So we're going to give a high-level overview of financial aid, but also what I'm going to do is also provide some resources because we do have some info sessions that are going to be as helpful as well. So let's talk a little bit about what is financial aid. Financial aid is completing what we call the free application for federal student aid, which is, short known as the FAFSA. And when you apply for financial aid, this includes federal and state grants. Although state grants are through the state of Texas, here at Lone Star, we can determine if you're eligible for any state grants based on completing the FAFSA application. We have scholarships that are internal through our foundation or external outside scholarships, but a lot of our scholarships, you must demonstrate need, which requires you to complete a FAFSA. If you're interested in work study program, whether it be federal and the state level, you do have to complete a FAFSA. And then federal direct loans, which are loans that are paid back but are borrowed through the federal government, and the FAFSA helps to determine that eligibility. And then once the FAFSA is completed, we receive a formula that's called the expected family contribution that entails your income. Right now, it will count the number of people in college, household size, whether you're married, single, spouse's income as well if married. Next slide, please. And so one of the first things that you have to do before you complete a FAFSA is you have to create a federal student aid ID. And with this, you're going to create a username and password, and you will provide your social security number. This will help the Department of Education to identify who you are based on your social security information, but it will also help you to be able to electronically sign the FAFSA. So we're able to, once you put Lone Star on the FAFSA, to receive your information. And so before you get started in completing the FAFSA, the first thing you're going to do is create a federal student aid ID, and that'll be your identifier for having to fill out the FAFSA in the subsequent years. Next slide, please. Okay, so I mentioned that you have to create an FSA ID, and one of the things that you want to definitely make sure that you include on your FAFSA is your full legal name. We have a lot of students, for example, that will put their name that they've been called all their life, but they won't put their legal name. And so your legal name is the name that is on your actual Social Security card. And make sure to include your correct date of birth. You want to make sure that although you can use what's called the data retrieval tool and pull your tax information from the IRS, it's always good, just in case you're unable to do that, to actually have your tax information with you in your W-2s. And like I said, our office, we're more than happy to help you fill out your FAFSA application. You want to make sure that you know the number of your household and members that are currently in college, because that will help in helping to determine what your expected family contribution number is, and also understanding what your marital status is and the date that you got married. So whenever you're filling out the FAFSA and you're married, you can only file two statuses. You can file married jointly or married separate, but as a married couple, you have to, that's the only two statuses that you can file. Now, if you're single, then you would just file what's your current status, whether it's single or divorced. Next slide, please. So we have students that are not able to complete a FAFSA because they may not be a US citizen or are recognized by the federal government as a eligible non-citizen. And an example of an eligible non-citizen would be a student that has a green card. So we do have students that are not in the eligible non-citizen category. And so the state of Texas allows students to complete what's called a TASFA application. And in order to qualify for TASFA, one of the requirements is that you have to have graduated from a Texas high school or obtain a GED. Now, going back to the FAFSA, you also have to have a high school diploma or a GED to complete a FAFSA as well. And some of the things as far as TASFA is, you do have to have lived in Texas for 36 months prior to high school graduation, and then also reside in Texas 12 months prior to the enrollment in a higher education institution. And you also have to sign an affidavit that that you're saying that you will the intent to become a permanent resident in Texas. So next slide. So there are actual deadlines in order to complete a FAFSA and a TASFA. If you're planning to come for summer, for example, you want to complete the 22-23 FAFSA or 22-23 TAFSA if not eligible to complete a FAFSA. Now, the deadline is approaching. We only have about 3 days because every year the FAFSA closes on June 30th. And so for 22-23, it's going to close here in the next 3 days on June 30th of this year. Now, if you're planning to try to come for summer, if we still have some classes available, you would provide your 2020 tax information. Now, for next fall, 23, spring 24, and summer 24, it's going to be based on your 2021 tax information. And you have until June 30th of 2024 to complete the FAFSA. We're encouraging you, if you have not done it, you want to get your FAFSA completed as quickly as possible, especially if you're planning to come to Lone Star for the fall. Because we know that if we don't get your FAFSA, say by July, we may not be able to get you processed in time to determine your eligibility for FAFSA or TASFA. Next slide, please. Some common mistakes that are on the FAFSA that we see quite a bit. I mean, I did mention earlier, making sure that you put your legal name, making sure that you your last name, for example, in the FSA ID, sometimes it's a mismatch if you spell your last name wrong. We see a lot of times where the Social Security number is entered incorrectly. And then if you're coming to Lone Star, students sometimes will select that they already have a bachelor's degree when they don't. And so, for example, if I select that I already have a bachelor's degree, I won't qualify for, say, a Pell Grant, which is free aid, free federal aid, because once you receive a bachelor's degree, then you're no longer eligible for a Pell Grant, which is free, like I mentioned. You would only qualify for loans. And so we see that quite a bit with students that will say they already have a bachelor's degree. And then what we will do is we'll have the student go back and make corrections to the FAFSA, and then we'll have them write a statement that says that they indicated they had a bachelor's degree, but they did it in error. And then also making sure your citizen status is correct. We have some students that fill out the FAFSA that put in information that they say that they're a non-eligible citizen, but they're truly not. And the information they're putting in is not, they're not an actual citizen, or they're not an actual non-citizen. So next slide, please. So how to prepare? What you always want to provide in case we need any additional information. You want to make sure that you have, a valid proof of ID, whether it be a passport, your driver's license. If you're a non-eligible citizen, you have your permanent residence card. I mentioned the TASFA not being able to fill out a FAFSA. So you would have a Social Security card, for example, that would say work only. And making sure that you file your taxes, because sometimes some students believe that they didn't have to file taxes, and it really depends on how much you earn. And we may have to tell you before we can process you, you're going to have to go in and actually file your taxes. And then making sure, as I mentioned earlier, that you provide your correct marital status. And so if, for example, if you are going through a divorce, you would still be married until you're actually divorced. And so on the FAFSA, it will ask you what your current status is. And then for TASFA students, making sure that they have their individual taxpayer identification number, because like I said, in many cases, their Social Security card will have a work only on the actual Social Security card that they receive. And then you want to make sure that you research the actual programs of study, because in order to be eligible for federal and state aid, you have to be in an eligible degree or certificate program. Next slide, please. Now, this is an example that if you're eligible for a Pell Grant, and not all students are eligible for Pell Grants based on what we call the expected family contribution number. Now, that EFC number It was a formula that was actually created by Congress, and it takes into consideration, as I mentioned earlier, it takes in income, number of students that are in college, number in your household, whether you have assets and other reported income. And then based on that, we receive that information and we take what it costs, the cost of attendance of the program that you're actually in, and it helps us to determine whether or not you're Pell eligible. Now, based on this chart, for example, if that EFC number is 0, then you're going to qualify for full Pell if you're in 12 hours, for example. And what you're awarded for is the year. So, for example, if we're looking at the 0 EFC and it's the 6895, that would be broken down into 2 semesters, which would be fall and spring. And then as you go down the chart, if you're 9 hours to 11 hours, you would be considered 3/4 time. 6 to 8 hours would be considered half time. And then 1 to 5 hours would actually be less than half time. But as that EFC number goes up, it makes the student, it makes you less eligible for full Pell. And then once you reach, for example, an EFC number of 5999, then you wouldn't qualify for Pell. But if you qualify, for example, for a subsidized loan, then that could demonstrate need, and that could help us determine whether or not we can award you some state grant funding. And so that's why it's always important. We want everyone to fill out the FAFSA. Even if you don't think that you'll qualify for something, please fill it out and come see us, and then we can go over your information and let us determine what you may qualify for. Next slide, please. So in order to keep funds, because we administer federal funds, one of the things that we want to make sure is that you don't have to owe any money back that we have to pay back to the federal government. And so we really want you to be mindful of when you withdraw from classes or get all Fs. So if you get all Fs or Ws after a semester, we do have to do what's called a return of Title IV calculation. We don't want to have to send money back. And so we are encouraging you, if you're having some, issues where you think you might be failing the class, I would encourage you maybe to go and speak with your instructor just to kind of gauge where you're at. And then if you need any additional information about that, just come see us, and then we'll provide some additional information to assist you. And then also, Pell Grants have what's called a lifetime limit. And so it's either 6 years or 24 credit hours per award year. So for example, if you're 12 hours for fall and 12 hours for spring, that's considered a full award year. And once you have a maximum of 144 attempted hours, then you will be at the maximum Pell limit as well. Next slide. Like I said, I understand this is a lot of information. And so, like I said, we have some actual info sessions on our website. And then, like I said, we'll also provide our phone number and also our email address for you. So we can definitely go into more detail with you. Now, I also mentioned that, you do have Pell Grants, but we also, as a part of the FAFSA, what we have is loans, which are subsidized and unsubsidized loans. Now, the difference between the two is if eligible for a subsidized loan, which is also considered need-based, as long as you're at least a half-time student in school, the government will pay the interest or the subsidy on the loan. Now, unsub loans are not considered need-based loans. And so with those particular loans, you would be responsible for the interest on the loan, but as long as you're in school, you're not required to pay the interest on the loan. The federal government will mail you out an interest statement every quarter, and it would be up to you whether or not you want to pay the interest on the unsubsidized loan. Next slide, please. So if you decide to take out a loan, and so Pell Grants, because they're free aid and state grants are free, You don't have to accept those. We automatically, if you're eligible, we will apply those to your account. Now, if you decide to take out a student loan, then you would have to go out to the federal government's website, which is studentloans.gov. They also require that you do what's called entrance counseling. And entrance counseling is just a way of, it's a 20-minute session that the federal government goes through to help you with budgeting and to help you better understand that you are taking out a loan that would need to be paid back. And then a part of the process is actually signing a promissory note. And that promissory note is good for 2 years, for 10 years, I'm sorry. So next slide, please. And here are some examples of some of our scholarships. And we also have some deadlines for the scholarships as well. And so next slide, please. And we also have college work study. So once you fill out the FAFSA and you can demonstrate need, you may qualify to actually go through our work study program. We have federal and work study program. And like I said, just come by our office or email us or call us and we'll give you more information. Next slide, please. And also what the federal government allows us to do before we disperse aid on your behalf, you also can use some of your financial aid early, so that way you're able to get books. So that way you won't have to try to come out of your pocket to try to get books. It allows us to use some of your financial aid so you can get books before classes begin. Next slide, please. And for us, everything will go to your Lone Star email. There's certain emails that we send that are specifically about your financial aid. And so we have to send it to your Lone Star email. So we always advise financial aid students to please monitor your Lone Star email because there may be additional information that we request. Next slide, please. And like I said, here is our email address here at the CyFair campus. We also have our contact center that's able to answer any questions, and their information is here as well with a 290-2700 number. Like I mentioned, also we have several WebExes and different sessions for you, whether it be Satisfactory Academic Progress, Awarded Now What, and so we have a lot of financial aid info sessions on our website as well. And then we also have on our financial aid website our live chat if you go through your My Lone Star account. And thank you.
Thank you, Keith. And like he was saying, we're sharing a lot of information with you, so we don't expect you to remember all of this today. But please feel free to ask us questions because, like I said at the beginning, I don't want you to leave with any unanswered questions. So please put it in the chat. I have one more topic to talk about before we go into our question and answers. So let me cover that real quickly because, you know, we care about you as a student, not just as a student, but as a human being. And we know that you have work obligations, family obligations, other life happening, personal life happening. So we're here to support you the best that we can, both academically and personally. So I'm going to cover a couple of our resources for you as students. Again, feel free to ask any questions that you may have. When it comes to our academic resources, we have assistive technology and accessibility services. You can apply for the program, show your medical documentation. Our counselors will review it and determine what accommodations are appropriate for your class, and your professors will receive that information to ensure that they provide those accommodations for you. Our campus police is on campus every day of the year, including holidays. And your safety on our campus is so important to us. So you will see them walking around on campus, and they have a police escort service. So if you are uncomfortable walking to your car by yourself, you can request for them to escort you. And like I said, they are here to monitor to make sure the campus is safe. We have a career and transfer advising, so you may already know what you want to do. Maybe you want to stay in your current field and grow within your current field. Maybe you want to try something new and you're not quite sure what that would be. We have a career and transfer center that can sit down and talk with you. They can review your resume. They can show you about, speak with you about different internship opportunities and so much more. We also have the transfer side of that, where universities will come here on campus for transfer fairs and have the opportunity to share information about maybe 50 different universities at the same time to talk with you about their programs and their options, as well as some individual universities coming throughout the weeks as well. So please take advantage of that while you're here. When it comes to counseling, we have both academic and personal counseling, where we have a certified professional who can speak with you, whether it's like academic, for example, test anxiety. I know I tend to struggle with test anxiety, so many students do. So we want to make sure that you have that resource to talk to someone. And same with personal matters, whatever the case may be, they are here to speak with you, and it is all confidential. Keith covered our financial aid and scholarships, but we have so much money that is raised specifically for Lone Star College students through our foundation. They have raised almost $20 million for student scholarships since their inception. We have a beautiful library with study rooms, with open computer labs, almost 200,000 books. And if it's been a while since you've written a research paper, maybe never have done one before, they can help you get started and teach you where to find the information and help you get started on that project or paper. Tutoring, we have 5 different areas of tutoring. I hope you really take advantage of this. We have math, science, writing, language lab, and ESOL. I'm personally not strong with math, and so I was in there every day. Well, maybe not every day, but every week while I was in my math class, because I needed that help, and they are here to support you. Our tutors are wonderful. They may not be your teacher, but they will teach you how to understand the material and be able to continue on your own when you're outside of campus. We also have veteran services. So the first things first, if we have any veterans in here with us today, thank you so much for your service. But please be sure to check with our Resource Center for Veterans, because we have your GI Bill benefits and other resources available to you. When it comes to technology services, we have a Tech Connect program where you can check out a laptop or an iPad for the semester through your My Lone Star, where you can request that. They offer My Lone Star Help, which is your student portal. We have open computer labs on campus. And if let's say you do have a laptop or an iPad that you already personally own, but don't have the Microsoft suite or specific software for a class, come take your personal device here and they will download it for you for free on your personal device. Like I mentioned, we also have personal resources. 2 of which I'd like to highlight is our Communities and Schools program, where they have emergency assistance such as funding or resources for coverage that we don't have as the college, but we have resources for. So medical, dental, vision, insurance, mental health care, transportation and housing, anything that you're looking for. I hope that you take advantage of our resources that we have to offer, as well as our Empowerment Center. It's a room on campus that has a food pantry, a career closet. So if you have an upcoming interview and maybe you don't have the clothes that you're looking for, if we have something in your size, please take it, and you do not have to return it. It is yours to keep. We also have some personal hygiene products and school supplies. And the #1 resource that we have is information, whether it be legal care, housing care, child care resources, whatever the case may be. They are here to help you because we want to make sure you're successful both in and out of the classroom. Whew, oh my goodness, y'all, we've covered a lot today. So I'd love to open the floor up for any questions that you may have. We're here to answer your questions, so feel free to put it in the chat, or if you'd like to unmute yourself, you're more than welcome to do that as well. And I did see a question up here before. Let me go take a look at it. It's regarding transcripts, and if it's difficult to collect transcripts, I would say what the difficult part is requesting from each one. So your high school, if you have any university transcripts or even community college experience, you'd have to contact each of those schools to receive the official transcripts. But the biggest note I want to share is that when you request it, it has to come directly from the school. Otherwise, it would be considered unofficial. But the cool thing is now they have electronic official transcripts. That means they'll be evaluated faster and received faster. Let's see if we have any other questions here. How do I get transportation services? Good question. So we have our Empowerment Center and Communities and Schools that would have the transportation resources available to you. If it's not something that we have the connection with, they can tell you who to contact in order to help with transportation needs. How do I submit my scholarship? Oh, that's a good question. Keith, do you want to answer that question?
Yes, so currently, the application opens on our website, but we're getting ready to move over to a new scholarship application, a new scholarship product. And so right now for fall, it's already closed for fall. And so it'll be opening for spring. And we're going to be doing a brand new campaign out it'll be on the website for incoming students and current students. So that whole process is changing. But right now it's going to be opening for spring soon. And so right now for fall, it's already closed for fall.
Thank you. And what if it's an external scholarship that's not from Lone Star? How would they submit that?
So normally what happens with that, the donor will submit a check to either our CyFair business office, or they'll send it to the Woodlands, to our system office. And then the business office will notify our student financials area. And then they will notify us to put the scholarship on the student's account. What we do is we'll have to read what the donor is asking. In some cases, the donor might say the student needs to be in 12 hours, or the student needs to be in this particular program. And so a lot of times what we'll do is, if the student hasn't enrolled, for example, we'll contact the student to say, the donor, we want to put the scholarship on here. The donor is saying that you have to be in 12 hours. Do you plan on registering? If you're only in 6, do you plan on registering for additional classes? Because if not, we'll have to send the funds back to the donor.
Thank you, Keith. I also see another question here. Jessica, if you want to unmute yourself, we're ready for your question.
Yes. So I have a question about placement testing, and it always gets me so uneasy because that's the part that I'm just like, no, thank you. I'm okay. I'm good. But I actually want to get through it and get to the registration part at least. But that's my question, how placement works, because I'm 30 years old, so I haven't been in school, and the whole part about taking extra classes before the IT classes makes me very nervous.
Great question. Michael, would you like to answer that for Miss Jessica?
So that's kind of like a dual admissions advising question. You'll have to take the placement testing if you don't have an exemption with us. For us, it doesn't matter necessarily what you make on the test. It's just that we have your scores. However, what you make on the test, an advisor will be able to look at that. And then from there, they'll be able to tell you which classes you place into.
Okay. How would I go about actually meeting with an advisor? Because I, for best, am better at like meeting with someone, and I guess I've tried calling the campus, and it always doesn't go well. So before me giving up, I actually would I would prefer, like, how would I go about actually meeting with someone and sitting down and seeing like what my options are here?
I think the best bet, I can't speak for the advisors, but at least for us, would probably to come to campus if you're able to.
Okay.
That's usually a much better option than trying to get to the right department on the phone. If you can come
Yeah.
in person, that's usually much better.
Okay. And just walk in, or is it something
Yeah,
like I'll have to
it's
schedule a
just walk
meeting?
in. You'll just walk in, set up an appointment with an advisor, and then they'll, I think they either give you a call or send you a text when your appointment's up, but it's usually just a little bit of a wait, but it's just a walk-in
Okay.
appointment.
That's fine. I would rather do that.
Yes, you can make an appointment. One thing to note is that we are in June right now, which means that we still have a good amount of time to meet with an advisor, do the admission steps. Once we hit August, you can still do those things, but we will be much busier in that season, as well as there are no appointments allowed with advising. It's all walk-in. So if you'd like to have that dedicated time with our academic advisors, I would recommend making an appointment before August. That way they can really sit with you, explore your options, talk with you about if you do need to take an assessment with like TSI versus, things like that. And make sure that we can get you on the right track to get in the classes that you're interested in.
If I could
fine, that
interject real quick, Becca, to
Yes.
help Jessica. Hi, I wasn't here earlier, but I'm Contessa. I'm from an advising office. So one of the things I definitely recommend, you've been out of school for a while. I was a non-traditional student myself. And math was not my thing. So we have a wonderful academic success center. It's in our library, which is right next door to CASA. And we have preparations for you that you can go in to our academic success center and practice for the TSI. I would highly recommend you doing that. Definitely knock off that rust and practice with whatever areas of content that you want to work on. They're great students and tutors over there that can assist you. And then for advising, Michael's correct. I would definitely recommend coming in. And although Becca is partially correct, sometimes you may not have an assigned advisor, and that can be a little bit difficult to get an appointment. However, we can put the email for our advising office in the chat. And you can send us an email, and we have a team of advisors that can assist you via email as well. We are not going to be able to tell you what classes to go into until we get your test scores. So we do the test first. Yeah, so definitely go practice, take the TSI, and then from that, you can then either email or just come down to advising for walk-in, and we'll be able to assist you that way. Does that help?
Yes, no, thank you. I've been waiting for this Zoom class for a while just because I've had questions. And so, yes, thank you so much. That was a big help.
You're very welcome.
And thank you, Contessa, for helping me answer that question, because sometimes I think I know it all. So thank you so much. And I'm glad you're here, Contessa. We have a couple more questions that are related to specific programs. If you don't mind answering these as well. The first question is that the student is interested in the radiology program. Does Lone Star have a spring and fall start, or is it once a year? And if it's once a year, when does the program start?
Ooh, that's a really good question. Let me look at my giant charts that I have on my wall in my office. So for the radiology program, because we have quite a few allied health programs, that one is, I want to say, I think they did change that to once a year, but don't quote me on it. But that's another thing that we can give you. I will look up in just a moment and add to the chat the link to our website that has tons of information. That is a program that we have a lot of prerequisites that you have to take, and it's an application program. So you have to apply and be admitted into that program. So prior to going into that program, you'll want to take those prerequisites. We also have designated advisors for the allied health programs here in advising, and you can meet with one of them to get very detailed information. In addition, we have a workforce advisor that's in the HSC building for those specific programs. Also, they offer orientations for the radiology as well as all the other programs that I would highly recommend that you go to. And so the link that we're going to post in the chat, you're going to be able to go to that website, find the orientations that meet your schedule, go to the orientation. But meanwhile, make sure you get your testing done and get into advising so you can start getting those prereq courses knocked out.
Thank you, Contessa. And Jessica, one more thing I forgot to mention. I put it in the chat of where to find the testing review sessions. I'll send it once more because it's a couple more chats above, but it would be lonestar.edu/learning-CyFair. It'll have a schedule of when the sessions are offered. They're usually Mondays and or Wednesdays, depending on if you're doing math or writing and reading. And then it's about 2 hours. So there's options with face-to-face and there's options in person. So take a look at that website. You can register for those sessions there.
And this is for the academics of the tutoring, I'm guessing?
This is for the TSI review sessions in case if you need to take the college placement assessment.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
You're so welcome. And Contessa, there's another question regarding a program. It says, does the Associate of Science of Nursing have a hybrid or online option?
Oh, unfortunately, no, we do not have that. It is going to be a face-to-face program. There's a lot of requirements for the nursing and clinicals and things like that, which are required in person. And so unfortunately at this time, we don't have the RNSG programs online or hybrid. I will say, again, there's a lot of prereqs that you can take prior to the program that you can take online or hybrid. So you could definitely start off that way, but once you're actually admitted into the program, it is almost like a full-time job.
Thank you, Contessa. There's another question regarding the nursing area. It says, I'm interested in doing the LVN to RN bridge. I got my checklist complete, but I'm locked out of my account. Oh, okay. This isn't regarding advising. This is for Michael and I. Michael, can I turn it over to you? How do I reset my account or get my information?
For your Lone Star account?
Yes.
So that would be for OTS. Let me see if I can pull up their contact real quick. The best bet is probably to call OTS at that number I just sent. They'll be able to help you reset your password and get you your student email. They'll just probably ask you some identifying questions. The best we'd be able to do would be able to look up your email for you, but for specific password resets, that has to go through OTS.
Thank you. And I also put the website there for OTS, just in case if you wanted to take a look at that as well. It also details more of what they support our students with technology-wise. Let me make sure I'm not missing any questions. I think we got them all in the chat. If I missed something, please feel free to speak out. And if there's any other questions that I can help you answer while we're here, and by me, I mean the whole team, because I don't know everything. I have to remind myself I don't know it all. But if there's any other questions, I'm more than happy to help. Oh, okay, here's another question. Can we set up an advisor appointment through my Lone Star account? Contessa, do you want to take that answer?
Yeah, so if you have an assigned advisor, absolutely. There's a portal. So when you log into My Lone Star, if you kind of scroll down towards the bottom, if you're assigned to an advisor, you should actually even see a picture of them. And you can just click it and that goes into directly into their Outlook so that you can schedule through that portal. If for some reason you don't see a picture, then you should have our main email that you can then send an email request for an appointment. And an advisor will reach out to you to assist you with that. Matter of fact, I'll try to grab that email in just a moment and post it in chat as well. But do try to schedule an appointment through your My Lone Star portal first to see if that'll allow you to do that.
Thank you, Contessa. I'm also putting in the chat a link to our student services form. It has just about every option that you may need that you're looking for information on or need to set an appointment for. So it's lonestar.edu-cf as in CyFair -student-services-form. The URL is a little bit of a long one and a tricky one, so I did put it in the chat. But that is a great website and form that you can fill out that you can make sure that you're getting the information that you're looking for. And you're more than welcome. And here's another website. I'm going to give you this information. It's lonestar.edu/start-now. That is our CyFair admissions page that can help you with additional details before maybe you're not quite ready to come up to campus. So you maybe need a little bit more time to digest all the information we're sharing with you. So this website is going to give you additional information on where to start and how to get started, as well as our contact information. I want to make sure I'm getting every question answered. Is there anyone else that has any questions? If not, I'd love to also share with you an event that's coming up at our Cypress Center. We have a main campus here at Lone Star College-CyFair, which is the Barker Cypress location, right across from the Berry Center. We also have what's called the Lone Star College Cypress Center. It's off of Clay Road in Katy. So if you live in the Katy area and you want to stay close to home, we do have that option for you, where we offer all of the classes that we would here, except for chemistry and I believe physical education, such as like the fitness classes. But we have everything that's there for you too. And that event will take place on July 19th if you're interested in coming and seeing the campus in person. I'll put that in the chat. And the other part that I'd like to share with you is if you want to become more familiar with our campus, we would be happy to give you a campus tour. My team and I, we do campus tours 4 days a week, Monday through Thursday. So I'll share that information with you as well. If those times don't work for you, let's say you're working during those times, please email us or respond to the follow-up email. We'll be happy to set an individual appointment with you as well. Let me put those in the chat and give an opportunity to think of any other questions in case if you have any before we say good night.
Yeah, I just wanted to add for you guys, instead of the email, I do recommend the link that Becca shared, the student services form, and Jessica for an appointment. Definitely use that form. So make sure that you write that down. That takes you to an online form and it has tons of things on there. You just click the thing that you have questions about, fill it out, and that really helps cut down on back and forth emails because you didn't provide enough information, so we're not able to give you an answer. It asks you those specific questions that we need as advisors to be able to provide the most accurate and full answer that you need. So yeah, that form, the student services form, is fantastic.
I'm going to check the chat once more just to make sure I'm not missing anything. Okay, I don't see anything. So if that's all that you have for us today, please feel free to reach out to us if you think of additional questions later on. I know sometimes it takes some time to process information before you're like, oh, well, what about this? Well, what about that? So we are more than happy to help you find your way. And like Dr. Jones said, you belong here and we want you here to give you everything that we have to offer and help reach your goals, whatever that may look like. So thank you so much for joining us tonight. We'll give you a follow-up email with all the information and we hope to see you soon. Thank you so much for joining us.